Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
If you joined us tomorrow, you lucky guys.
Yesterday?
Did I say tomorrow?
You did.
I'm so sorry. I did mean yesterday. Where's my head? Plants in Culture and Mythology is a 2-day lesson which was started yesterday, and we will continue and complete today. So please join us here on our material for today, January 28th. We're going to read through, as we always do, the entire lesson, and then go back to explain it, and we have some bonus questions for you at the end of the program.
好，我们今天这篇文章呢，是昨天那篇文章的续集。那文章的中文标题是充满神话色彩的植物。
Okay, listen up. As previously mentioned, the Greeks celebrated the importance of grains through worship of the goddess Demeter. This is just one example of how one of their legends related to the natural world. They also held ivy and laurel in high regard, with the two plants treated as symbols of prominent legends. And now we're going to look at the prominent legend concerning ivy. An evergreen plant that maintains its verdant color even in the depths of winter, ivy represented immortality to the Greeks. It is closely connected to the Greek god of wine, Dionysus, who is typically depicted as wearing a crown made of ivy. In addition, the staff he carries has an ivy vine on it, Laurel. Like ivy, the laurel tree thrives year-round and was also held in high esteem by the ancient Greeks. The tree's leaves and branches have often been made into wreaths, which are occasionally still worn as a symbol of success, academic, literary, or athletic. In the 2004 Summer Olympics, for example, medal winners received laurel crowns. The word laureate is based on the plant as well and is used to describe a person who has been honored for reaching distinction in a particular field. In Greek mythology, the nymph Daphne was turned into a laurel tree by her father to escape the advances of Apollo, the god of the sun. A famous sculpture in the Galleria Borghese depicts this scene. As these examples demonstrate, ancient cultures had deep respect for nature and created many legends and myths to honor it. These amazing stories remain a colorful aspect of folklore and history.
So, as previously mentioned, as we mentioned yesterday, that is, the Greeks celebrated the importance of grains through the worship of the goddess Demeter. Demeter is basically the life force of the world, and she had a daughter famously called Persephone, who she lost to Hades. You might remember that story. Demeter's Roman name is Ceres, and Ceres turned into cereal, which is why we call grains cereals, and why breakfast cereal, which is made from grain, also has its name. So that's interesting, I think. Anyways, Greeks worshipped Demeter, and they were also very into grains.
好，所以 as previously mentioned， 正如我们之前有提到的，希腊人呢 celebrated the importance of grains。那这个 celebrated 其实可以翻成歌颂，他们歌颂谷物的重要性。Through 透过什么来歌颂呢？透过 worship of the goddess， 这个Demeter 都有人念，那就是透过他们去敬拜这个女神，那这个女神其实是谷物之神，那我们上课有讲到的。
This is just one example of how one of their legends related to the natural world. So Demeter was a goddess for the ancient Greeks. She represented agriculture, especially grains, and the Romans and Egyptians and ancient Chinese, of course, their world was really about agriculture. That's how they became civilizations. Prior to that, they were hunter-gatherers without the ability to write or record their lives, except in painting. They didn't yet have printed letters or symbols for things. And it just shows that how important the natural world, the world of agriculture, was to these early civilizations.
好，所以呢 this is just one example of 这只不过是一个例子，什么东西的例子呢？ How one of their legends related to the natural world 啊，他们的这个 legends， 他们的传奇啊之中呢，正好就是有一个是 related to， 他们是这个传奇是如何的和什么有关系呢？ How is it related to the natural world？ 和自然世界是有关系的。
They also held ivy and laurel in high regard. Both of these climbing plants are treated as symbols of prominent legends. Prominent means well-known or famous.
Yeah, or important.
Or important.
Yeah. 好，所以 they also, 那这个地方呢，各位也要记得注意一个片语哈 ，to hold something in high regard， 就是非常尊重、尊崇什么东西啊。那另外一个说法是 to hold something in high esteem 啊。那我们下面会看到这个是 esteem 啊，所以他们也 hold， 他们也把这个 ivy 常春藤啊，跟这个 laurel 就是月桂树啊，他们是这个非常尊崇这两个植物啊。那 with the two plants treated as， 那因为这两个植物都被视为、都被看待为什么 treat 在这里是把它看待成为视为的意思，都把它看成是 symbols of 是什么东西的象征呢？是 prominent legends 啊，都是一些很重要的传说里面的一些象征啊。那 prominent 就是 important and well known 啊，很重要的、知名的意思。
Okay, we'll look at ivy first, of course. An evergreen plant that maintains its verdant color even in the depths of winter, ivy represented immortality to the Greeks. An evergreen plant means that it is always green throughout the year, 12 months out of every year. Remember that Greece and Rome had winters. It snowed in the winters, but ivy did not turn brown and fall off. Think of Christmas tree if you want to think of an evergreen plant. There are trees, or in this case, a vine. Ivy is a vine. They're verdant green, deep green, lively green color. Even in the depths of winter, even in the middle of a cold, cold winter, it will not change its color, and therefore the Greeks thought of it as representing immortality. It will live forever. It doesn't seem to die.
Although, we had ivy on our house, and for years, like 20 years, my dad battled this ivy. It really took us 20 years to get rid of this ivy plant from our house. So the Greeks probably knew something about that.
啊，所以你如果说家里面啊，这个有外面长了常春藤啊，你要把它移除也非常的困难啊，因为它生命力很强啊。好，所以我们看到这个地方，他说这个 an evergreen plant 就是一个常绿的植物啊，就是指这个 ivy 啊 ，that maintains 它会维持它的 verdant color 哈 ，verdant 就是翠绿色哈，通常会让我们想到 fresh and green 那种感觉，它的翠绿哈，它会维持它的翠绿色啊 ，even in the depths of winter。In the depths of winter， 这是一个很棒的一个片语啊，就是深冬啊，冬天很冷的时候啊。In the depths of winter， 然后呢，那前面这个整个只是个片语啊，它是修饰后面的这个 ivy 啊，所以 ivy 它是怎么样呢？它 represented 它代表的是 immortality， 就长生不老啊，不朽。To the Greeks， 对于这些希腊人来讲，这个常春藤代表的是 immortality。It
is also closely connected to the Greek god of wine, Dionysus, who is typically depicted or shown as wearing a crown made of ivy. I did not know that one. What does ivy have to do with wine? I guess we want being drunk to last forever? I don't know.
I do. Oh, I mean, yes, that's a good supposition.
Yeah， 所以他说 it is closely connected to， 就是它和什么东西非常的这个关系非常的亲密，很紧密呢 ？It is closely related to the Greek god of wine， 就是希腊神话里面的那个酒神啊。那他的酒神这个名字呢，其实我也听过不同的念法哈。那这个像刚刚 Angela 上念，好，这个 Dionysus， 那我也听过 Dionysus， 好，那也听过 Dionysus， 好，那这个我想。因为是希腊名字哈，所以可能会有不同的念法。好，那但是这个神非常的有名啊，因为酒神也是欢乐之神啊，因为他喝的酒非常的这个非常快乐啊，好，那甚至于是狂欢之神。
And social，
没错
，parties
啊，跟 parties 也有关系啊。那他呢，酒神 who is typically depicted as to be depicted as 什么？就是他会被描绘成啊，他典型。typically 会被描绘成一个他 wearing a crown， 他戴了一个王冠是 made of ivy， 那王冠是由常春藤做的这样子一个形象。
In addition, moreover, the staff he carries has an ivy vine on it. A staff is a stick, a thick stick. It can be used to help people walk. It can be used as a weapon.People were used to carrying things like that in the past. And there was an ivy vine. We said earlier, ivy is the name of a vine. Vines are plants that grow very long, up buildings, up trees, along the ground. Those are vines. And when we see pictures of Dionysus,He has the ivy crown and a staff, which also has an ivy plant, probably like a snake, wrapping around it.
好，此外呢 ，the staff 就是权杖，he carries， 所以酒神会带了一根权杖。那权杖上面也有 ivy vine 就是蔓藤有蔓藤 ivy 的蔓藤卷在他的权杖上面。
Now we have Laurel.Like ivy, the laurel tree thrives year-round, so it's also a kind of evergreen plant. And it was also held in high esteem by the ancient Greeks. Thrives, by the way, means survives but better. Survive means, yeah, I'm still alive. Like you might have gone through a car crash and you're burned over 70% of your body, but you're still alive. That's not thriving. Thriving is you're living your best life.
好，所以 thrive 就是很茂盛，这个尤其是茂盛的成长，过得非常好的意思。所以这一句讲到说，就好像常春藤一样，这个月桂树呢，它是 year round， 就 all through the year， 它整年都非常的茂盛，都不会枯掉。那 and was also held in high esteem， 这我们刚刚讲的，你可以说 to be held in high regard。或者 to be held in high esteem 意思都一样，就是很受到尊重的，很受到尊崇的意思。好，他是由谁很尊崇他呢？这个古希腊人非常尊崇这个月桂树。
The tree's leaves, now remember laurel is not a vine, it's a tree, but it was also held, its leaves and branches have often been made into wreaths. Think crown when you see or hear the word wreath, but the plural, the th becomes th. One wreath, two wreaths of laurel. By the way, Laurel is a man's name, and the woman's version of it is Laura, L-A-U-R-A.
好，所以呢，这个树它的 leaves 它的树叶还有它的树枝 branches have often been made into 常常会被做成这个 wreaths 就是花环那 which are occasionally still worn 那 occasionally 就是 sometimes but not often 偶尔还是有人会戴这样的一个花环occasionally are still worn as a symbol of success 就可以作为一个这个成功的象征那不管你是在这个 academic 在学术上的成就，或者是 literary 文学上的成就，或者是这个 athletic 这个在运动上的成就都可以因为这个 laurels 这个字呢，就是指我们常讲桂冠它是一种荣誉通常是指在体育艺术或政治方面所获得的一种荣誉那个叫做 laurels， 那个是桂冠 好，那如果是诺贝尔奖得主的话，那就是 laureate， 好 Laureate， 好，就通常是这个某一个研究领域里面得到桂冠的人，或者获得殊荣的人。
So, in the 2004 Summer Olympics, for example, medal winners received laurel crowns, and this was in the ancient Olympic tradition.
好，所以例如呢，在2004年的夏季奥运里面呢，这个 medal winners 就是获得奖牌的人，他们得到的就是 laurel crowns， 这个就是月桂冠。
The word laureate is based on the plant as well.And Wesley just described what laureate means and how it's used, and is used, we'll repeat this, to describe a person who has been honored for reaching distinction, a very high level within a particular field. So that could be academic, literary, or athletic.
好，所以呢 laureate 这个字呢 is based on the plant as well， 它也是来自于这个月桂树这一个字，然后呢它被用来 describe， 用来形容一个人，他怎么样 has been honored， 他这个被别人赋予他荣誉，for 为什么要给他荣誉呢？因为他 reaching distinction， 就是他达到了卓越，也就是他取得了杰出的成就，reaching distinction。In a particular field， 在某一个特定的领域，他有得到杰出的成就，那我们就给他一个 laureate， 一个桂冠。
In Greek mythology, the nymph Daphne, a nymph is kind of like a demigod, a female demigod, and she was turned into a laurel tree by her father to escape the rapey advances of Apollo, the god of the sun. The Greek gods love to go around basically raping people, and so people were constantly trying to protect their daughters from the Greek gods, and this was a common strategy. Turn them into a tree. He definitely won't a tree.
好，所以呢，这个地方讲到他说，这个在希腊神话里面 the nymph 这一个就是所谓的 nymph 就是她居住在山林水泽间的这个女神那她的名字叫做 Daphne， 那她被turned into 被变成了一个月桂树by her father 是他爸爸把她变的，为什么呢？因为他要躲避escape 要逃掉 the advances of Apollo advances 就是追求那个太阳神 the god of the sun 那所以很有趣这个希腊神就像刚刚 Angel 他讲的，希腊的那个男神都很喜欢到处去追女生而且不只是追，他看到一个女生基本上就是你要得到她不管你是神还是人。那这个里面大概 Zeus 是这个恶名昭彰的所以呢连太阳神这么正派的神他也是看到这个美女我要她那所以呢这个 Daphne 他爸爸为了要让他女儿躲避 Apollo 的魔掌就把她变成了一个月桂树。
A famous sculpture in the Galleria Borghese depicts this scene. Scene is a picture of something.A situation that is painted or drawn, in this case, sculpted. I don't know what material they used. It was some stone, although you can also have a sculpture of wood. But if it's lasted hundreds and hundreds of years, very likely it was made from some kind of stone.
OK， 所以有一个很有名的雕像在这个 Borghese这一个博物馆里面有一个很有名的雕像，它 depicts this scene 就描绘了这一个场景。
As these examples demonstrate, so as all the things we just talked about shows, ancient cultures had deep respect for nature. They really thought nature was a powerful force, and they created many legends and myths to honor it. If you honor something, you show your respect and love for it.
好，所以 honor 就荣耀或者敬拜的意思。好，所以 as these examples demonstrate 就如这些例子所显示的demonstrate 就是 show 的意思然后呢这个显示什么呢？ Ancient cultures 这些古老的文化呢 had deep respect for nature， 他们对于大自然有很深的尊重跟尊敬因为那时候科技不够发达那人很多时候是受到大自然力量的控制的。 好，然后呢，他们 created， 他们也创造了 many legends and myths， 他们创造了很多的传说，很多的神话来 honor it 就是 nature， 所以这是一个很常见的现象。
These amazing stories, these legends and myths, remain a colorful aspect of folklore and history. An aspect is a part of something, and in folklore, those are the legends, people's stories, and history tends to be more academic, what we can prove or we think happened. We have evidence that something happened. We don't believe there was a god Jupiter or something like that, but other stories about battles or kings and so on, even if they're centuries or millennia old, there may be some truth to it. And most people like to read about legends and myths of other cultures. My granddaughter recently wrote me, and now she's in middle school, and she said, Grandpa, I thought I wouldn't like reading about history and culture, but I find it really, really interesting now. So it may be part of human nature to enjoy listening to stories.
Yeah.
Well, we want to listen to stories, and we want to know where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually one time a student told me, she's like, I'm not that interested in history because I'm really interested in the future. I'm like, yeah, but how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 所以过去还是很重要的哈，人的过去还是非常重要的。好，那这个而且 stories 大家都是，我想大概没有人不喜欢听 stories。好，所以很多人讲 in public speaking 啊 ，it's always a wise thing to do to start your talk with a story.
Oh, yeah, because it draws people in. Everyone's like, ooh, story time.
Yeah.
And their barriers come down and they want to listen to you more. And the stuff you say after, they're more open to as well.
Yeah, 所以他这个句子叫 These amazing stories 这些让人觉得很棒的、很令人赞叹的故事 remain 仍然是是一个 colorful aspect， 一个多彩多姿的面向aspect 就是面向，这个 spect 就是 look 的意思所以 aspect 那个就是 to look 我看一下，看这个面向 aspect。好，那像 expect 叫做预期嘛，因为 ex 是 out， 所以往外看就是你预期这个东西会来所以这个 spect 是很重要的英文字根很好，它可以帮你记很多字。inspect 叫检查，因为 in 就是 into， 你往里面看就是在检查嘛好，所以它是个 colorful aspect of folklore， 就是民间传说，这是个集合名词还有 history， 还有历史。
So we have 4 questions here for you. Number 1 is, what is the passage mainly about? That's our favorite question.
Yeah, 本文主要是关于什么呢？
And the answer is A, old myths related to the natural world.
答案是 A， 与自然界有关的古老神话。
Number 2, which of the following sentences fits best in the blank in the third paragraph of day 1? That was in the beans paragraph.
Yeah, 问题是以下哪一个句子最适合放入第一天第3段的空格？
And the answer is D, and I'll read now the complete sentence. Not every culture is wary of beans, though.
好，所以答案是 D， 并非所有的文化都对豆类小心翼翼。
And number 3, according to the passage, which plant is connected to success in the sports world?
根据本文，哪种植物与体育界的成功有关？
And the answer is C, laurel. It's also connected to movies.
Yeah, 答案
The
是
laurel leaves.
Yeah. 所以答案是 C， 好，月桂树。
Number 4, which of the following statements is true?
好，以下哪项叙述是正确的？
The answer, of course, is D. In many Asian cultures, bamboo is believed to bring fortune and well-being.
答案是 D， 好，在许多亚洲文化中，竹子被认为能带来财富和幸福。
So that's it for today and yesterday, our 2-day lesson. Join us anytime here on Ivy. We are here for you. Till the next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.